Welcome to another edition of Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting. I'm DJ Impact. We got Sensei Steve, Matt Michaels here. Vegas Bad Boys here with you. 3 count. That is today's show. And we got 3 good topics for you. Now, if you happen to be watching this live, as always, throw your comments into your chat box, YouTube Live, Twitch Live, or Facebook, and we'll try to get it in as we see fit. If you're not able to watch us live, thank you for downloading and recording. We appreciate that as well. All right, fellas, let's get into our 3 counts. It's time. Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting present
1, 2, 3.
Count Talk.
Count Talk, baby.
Here's our first one
1.
from WrestlingNews.co, titled "The PG Era Has Ended. WWE Raw will be a TV-14 show." And it reads, "The PG era is over for WWE Monday Night Raw. Andrew Zarian of Matt Men, the podcast, reported on Twitter that the show will have a TV-14 rating starting Monday. He wrote, quote, "Starting July 18th, WWE Raw will have a TV-14 rating moving forward on the USA Network. The PG era is over," end quote. First time Vince McMahon made his programming edgier was in 1997 when WWE ratings were down and the company was losing the Monday Night War against WCW. WWE shifted towards PG programming in July 2008 after its programming received a TV PG rating from the TV parental guidelines. This was done to market to children and attract more blue chip sponsors. And when WWE made changes to NXT last September and rebranded it to NXT 2.0, WWE loosened up some of the language allowed on the show, as well as relaxed the rules on wardrobe for women. The idea was to bring in more younger viewers. The TV-14 rating will let them do a lot of crazier angles and storylines. All right, Zen City Steve, this was yours. What's your take on it, man?
So the thing is that really is taking me aback is, number one, this was actually in a released memo that was in circulation around the USA Network executives. So, long story short, since this report actually came through, it looks like as if the date itself has shifted. So, the actual TV-14 start date is actually not going to be July 18th, but it is in consideration for a later date. The most important thing, and the biggest reason why I had submitted this article, was this just goes to show that at the end of the day, what the networks want, the networks will get. So USA Network wants an edgier product. They want things evidently with, they're happy with what they're seeing on, NXT 2.0. And they're wanting, as was even mentioned in the article, they're looking for, more, they relaxed the rules on wardrobe for women, loosened up some of the language, that kind of thing. Yes, TV-14 will allow them more leeway. I think the thing that really we need to temper any excitement with is this. We live in a much different world than when the Attitude Era was running rampant 30 years ago. Okay. The mere fact that some people can't quite calibrate that and don't quite understand that. Unfortunately, some people are just never going to understand that times change. And ultimately, the most important court is the court of public opinion in most cases. Now, yes, the thing that's very interesting and very telling is that 2008 was when WWE adjusted the on-air programming. Now, I don't think that they will be doing, blood and guts, or I don't think that they're going to go absolutely crazy with things and, have a redux on the Mae Young hand pregnancy angle or anything of that nature. At least God, I hope not. But in any event, a little bit of an edgier product definitely would not hurt. And let's call it what it is. Your viewer base, even in spite of absolutely everything that you've done to try to target younger viewers, those younger viewers are not showing up in droves as they had hoped that it would.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, once sponsors push back on this, then we could see them pulling in the reins, no pun intended. But I think that if they do make this change to TV 14, when they make this change to TV 14, you will have some advertisers that won't quite know what to expect, and they will distance themselves from the product. So we need to at least get that info out there and make sure that people understand that we're probably going to see that, and that, quite frankly, the sky is not falling. This is just a shift in the programming.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Matt Michaels. I mean, since City Steve said that, look, it shows that the network wanted an edgier product, and let's just say, you know, hey, so they provide this, and it works, and now maybe numbers are growing some way for the new USA network. You think there's a possibility that maybe Fox, which I know is a national network, not the same as USA, but will look at that and go, wait, maybe we want a little something like that too? Think the possibility of that could happen as well?
I don't know if Fox really gives a shit what USA is doing. I don't know if they follow it at all, to be honest. You know, Fox's bigger concern is we want Ronda Rousey, we want Brock Lesnar, we want Roman Reigns, we want established names on the show because that will bring the eyes. Whether or not you say ass on TV, it's not going to make a difference. And they're still under network TV, even though they've loosened it a bit. They're still under the fucking, you know,
FCC guidelines.
FCC guidelines, yeah. So USA, it's cable. So, you know, why not? If you feel that, I think what USA feels is that it can possibly bring more eyes. But I think counter to what Steve said, I think that they feel if it brings more eyes, then advertisers will be more willing to pay higher prices because the ratings are up. So it's, you know, it's kind of a catch-22 in network television, is that you have a ratings versus commercial, you know, pricing dilemma. And the thing is like on Fox, they're going to have the car ads. They're going to have ads that are, you know, considered adult items.
Yeah.
But with USA, if you bring in some of the, you know, some more of that Attitude Era feel or that, you know, adult feel to it, you'll probably see more of the advertising geared towards video games and stuff like that in the Attitude Era. So, and then on top of everything, you also have Peacock in the mix because they have the streaming. So I don't think they're telling them anything. I don't think they're putting anything on that. But really what it comes down to is that the honest answer is that Linda wanted to run for state Senate back, I think it was Senate back in that around 2008. That's when they went TV PG, is because they didn't want the backlash used against her, which they already were going to use attitude or shit against her, right?
Yeah.
And I think between where we were in 2008 and where we are now, Linda served in Trump's actual cabinet. You know, she was a member of the
Small Business Administration.
Yeah, head of Small Business Administration. And one of the things that I think, you know, was learned is that if the person who leads your country has moral standards that are, you know, bottom feeder moral standards, then why not go back to TV 14? Who the fuck cares? It sells. You can get away with shit. So they learned a lesson. They can see where there's more money, more advertising dollars, and they'll go for it. Big
Let
deal.
me ask you guys this, and either one of you can answer. You both can answer. Do you think that? And I asked this because one of the guys while I was working today brought up the fact that they were going to become TV 14. He was like, "Yeah, man, now I'm about to fucking go back to start watching WWE." Do you think that there's this expectations? Because since you mentioned it, hey, we're not going to be going back to the hand, coming out and all the crazy shit that happened. But will fans' expectations should they not raise it as high, thinking that we're going to go back to that time, or should they automatically start thinking the way they thinking? Like this guy telling me he's watching Monday because he can't wait to see where they go now.
See,
Either
that's the key thing is it's piquing interest. So just by this memo getting out there, whether or not they choose to bring it back the 18th, whether they choose to bring it back in August, whether they choose to bring it back in January.
Yeah.
The mere fact is you're actually going to be bringing more people into the fold just to see when it's going to be TV 14 again.
Yeah.
So and again, the mere fact that we're talking about it on this show and that somebody, in your workplace mentioned it specifically to you,
right.
that should kind of signal how big of a seismic shift this actually could be. But as I mentioned, we do need to temper expectations.
Right.
Things are definitely not the same in our world as what they were, pre 2008.
Sure.
So that's something that we definitely need to be mindful of. Now, how far over the top are they going to go? I don't know, but I definitely can count myself in the number of people that will be watching with a renewed interest if they do make a ratings change.
Okay.
Well, good question for you, DJ. Out of your guesstimate, how old was the person you talked to?
Oh man, he's probably right where we're at, to be honest with you. So
that's a problem because this isn't geared to get guys our age. And the problem is that we live in a fucking fantasy that shit was fantastic. Go back and watch it. A lot of it is just plain shit.
That's true.
Seriously, DJ and I, we sat there, we tried watching WCW, the episode where Hogan lost to Goldberg, and DJ was just like, this is awful. This is just boring. This is awful. And it really was. There were only a couple moments on the show that you went, oh, this is good. And if you go back and watch WWE, it's the same thing. A lot of it in the Attitude Era was mid-card stuff between, D'Lo and Val Venus. And it's like, yeah, the controversy of a Val Venus was always brought back to chop off the pee-pee, right?
Right.
Well, the fact of the matter is that you can point to that, but can you point to any other fucking Val Venus match? It's really hard to like go, oh yeah, hey, yeah, well, not if they chop you the pee-pee, then
there you go.
That's separating it, and it's not very hard at all when you separate, the character. But in all honesty, the truth of the matter is it's funny just listening to you guys both say it. You both said the hand. What the fuck? Like that's what sticks out to you from the Attitude Era, like a hand being born, and it's like how is that any better than what they're doing now? It's not. And I think that we just get caught up. Our age group gets caught up into this fantasy that stuff was so fucking good. And it's because we didn't have the internet access we had. We didn't have the fucking, especially the social media with wrestlers tweeting out all their shit and whatnot. There was a little bit, and we were coming off of both WCW and WWF being the squeaky clean 80s stuff, right?
Right.
So it was just a whole fucking thunderous new thing what really needs to happen is they need to have younger people who are in control of both companies. Tony Khan needs to fucking let other people do shit. And Vince McMahon, same thing. Let other people, young people, do shit, because you have to integrate your social media into doing what the Attitude Era did, right? You have to find that base and how to use what people who are anywhere between 18 and 25 are into to get that audience interested and to make it relevant to them, not to us.
Right.
Because that's who you want to get. And the only difference between AEW and WWE in terms of relatability is that AEW started out of the idea that Tony Khan saw the value in the fact that guys like the Bucks and Cody and Bullet Club, they could get their merchandise into Hot Topic. And at that time, WWE did not have a deal in getting their merchandise out there through Hot Topic. That was a main vein showing, hey, we can tap into that audience. WWE didn't find that same thing. And they're looking for that. So that's what you're trying to do. And we'll see if it fucking works. Because the difference between them as well is that WWE has an established way of getting to kids between the ages of 6 and 15. Whereas AEW really has not tapped that market because they haven't been around.
Yeah.
So
also, realistically, they're not marketing to kids that age.
Yeah.
AEW.
Right. True. It's true. It's true. Which in the long run too is that something that can hurt you, because the one thing that you take a risk on is what happened to the Attitude Era fans, right? Oh, this is so fucking good. Now I'm fucking bored with it, when it wasn't Attitude style. And if AEW then tries to chase that audience of kids, and then it becomes boring to people who have been watching your product for 10 years, you have the same thing happen to them that happened to WWE. You lose that base. You lose the fans you created. So we'll see.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's go into our second count. And this was titled, Jon Moxley's the worst wrestler in the world. Industry veteran slams interim AEW champion after a recent Dynamite match. This is from sportskeeda.com, and this is how it reads. Former WWE manager Jim Cornette has harshly criticized Jon Moxley over his recent match on AEW. Moxley captured the interim AEW world champion after defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi at AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door after the Star's first championship reign during the pandemic. Many fans were hoping he'd get another title run in front of the capacity crowd. Now, Moxley successfully defended the interim AEW World Championship during the latest episode of Dynamite in light of the bout almost going overtime, and Jim Cornette slammed Moxley wrestling as well as the promotion. And on the latest episode of Jim Cornette Experience, the former WWE manager expressed his exhaustion with both Moxley's wrestling style and AEW itself. This is what he says. I will give this a chance just to see if Moxley does something different this time. So I paid attention. Under 1 minute and 15 seconds, they went to the floor. I just said, fuck it. Moxley's the worst wrestler in the world, and I tried to fast forward to the finish, but AEW can't manage the time, so they almost run over, end quote. And then the Cornette continued pointing out that AEW should be more careful with going overtime, as it could lead to television executives at Warner Brothers Discovery getting frustrated. This is what he said, quote, they can't manage their time. They got a bunch of unprofessionals assholes that have never been trained properly. They just work indies and rec centers. So that's another way they could get steam on them, as if they keep asking for more time on the fly. That's not generally received well, at least back at Master Control, end quote. Now, Cornette has been vocal about his criticism surrounding the purveyor of violence, which is likely why his reaction to this match was so sour. Jon Moxley is set to face the rising DDT star Konosuke Takashiki on Fyter Fest, which I guess took place on Dynamite. So, Mr. Matt Michaels.
Steve, can you just go ahead and pronounce the name?
Konosuke Takeshita.
I was so off on that. Matt Michaels, you didn't pronounce that shit either. Try it.
I know. Dude, I'm the one who basically says, what the fuck, every time that there's a Japanese wrestler who I've never heard of wrestling one of these guys. So I don't even care. But I just thought that was a pretty, it was a nice interpretation.
Yeah.
That's one way to phrase it.
All right. Is Jon Moxley the worst wrestler in the world, Matt Michaels?
He's certainly not good. And the reason being is a couple things. First off, you just said that when this article is written, Dynamite had not aired. Okay. So I want to preference that. Okay. So this was Cornette talking about the week before.
Brody King.
Yeah, I think, or the week before.
It was the Brody King match.
Was it the Brody King one? Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, now you also have to say that wrestling is give and take. So with that, in that particular instance, Moxley and Brody King are two guys who are not your WWE type storyteller wrestlers.
Right.
Okay. But at one point, Moxley was. And what's very interesting to me, just overall, before I get into this week's match, is that Dean Ambrose was a better wrestler than Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley is better at blood and guts, and that's why he wanted to get the fuck out of there, is because he wanted to get back to, dude, if you willingly go into GCW while you've got a big contract and basically are doing it for nothing, you have something fucking psychologically wrong with you, and you like violence more so than wrestling. And if you look at it, Dean Ambrose was essentially a more rounded, aligned character to the Shield. And what did we find out about the Shield? The Shield was much better when they finally were broken apart. And it took them years to establish characters in Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, but they're two of the top guys in the business. Now, Moxley can be considered the top guy, but as a wrestler, as a storyteller, he's not as good. Here's where it comes in, and I'm so glad that he did it this week because it proves the point, and I'm sure Cornette will say it. The match he had was fairly decent, and a lot of it was because of, what is it, Tamaguchi? Or what? I'm not even going to try.
Sin City Steve.
But a lot of it was that kid is a decent wrestler, right?
Yeah.
The kid also got busted open. All right. So he was bleeding. So we already had color in that match. And again, my whole thing is, dude, you don't need color every fucking week. It's lazy. It's lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, right before the match is about to end, Jon Moxley has him, and instead of just doing a finisher or putting him away, Moxley goes ahead and he headbutts the guy quickly and forcefully about, 6, 7, 8 times, with no reason other than to bust himself open the hard way. And at first, and literally, he headbutts him, does whatever the finish move was. It was a 1, 2, 3. I mean, it was right before the end of the match. This had no fucking bearing at all on the story or the match. No reason Jon Moxley needed to be fucking cut open other than he's a fucking psychopath that likes to feel his own blood drip down his face. And I swore at first, I'm like, he couldn't have done that. The blood's got to be from the other guy. And as they do the close-up and he's sitting on the ground right after the pin, you can see that it starts gushing from his head. It's his fucking own fucking cut. To me, that sealed that argument. He is the fucking worst wrestler because he's not worried about wrestling. He's more worried about Jon Moxley being this blood and guts dude. And at that point, it's just like, you know what? I liked the guy. And now I'm like, why the fuck is Renee still with this psychopath? It's crazy. And he only lived, right around the corner. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Thank God he moved back to Ohio.
Oh, Jesus. Sin City. Okay. Boy, you got so much to answer for. But let me ask you this.
Phrase your question perfectly.
Okay, but let's look at it from, you can respond to what Michael said, and Michael's responding to what Cornette was saying, but to what Cornette was saying, look, 15 seconds in the match, we're already on to the floor now. I'm not going to get a wrestling match. I know you're probably not a Cornette fan as well, but can you see where Cornette was coming from to how he come up with this reasoning of he not thinking that Moxley is the worst wrestler in the world?
I certainly used to be a Jim Cornette fan.
Oh, okay.
I definitely used to be, back when he was a manager. And then after he left the business, and, did his thing with Ring of Honor, and then after that went away, he felt like as if he, wanted to seemingly undermine, and I don't know if undermine's the best word, but diminish certain facets of the business. And the fact is that, Jim Cornette definitely has an opinion without question. He definitely has the right to voice that opinion exactly as we do, exactly as everyone else does in the comments and every other podcast on the planet. But to label somebody the worst wrestler in the world, to be honest, that's extreme hyperbole. I guarantee that you can find tons of people that are worse at any facet of the business. If you're looking for a psychological wrestler, great. I'm sure that there are quite a few worse than Moxley. If you're looking for a technical wrestler that, somebody that sucks in the technical field, I'm sure you're going to find somebody and a lot of people worse than Moxley. The fact is the match with Brody King, and Michaels, you hit the nail right on the head. Neither one of those guys are your, 60-minute technical classic Iron Man type of a match having individual. You're just not going to get that. What you're going to get out of both of those guys is what we saw during that match. And that is a lot of violence. And you're going to jump out to the crowd. You're going to hit the floor. You're going to, just pop off right at the beginning of the match. Exactly as what they did. But, to label somebody as the worst wrestler in the world, of course, that's very well Jim Cornette's opinion. He's certainly able to have that opinion. However, he's damn wrong in that. But again, what do I know? I am just some fucking mark with a microphone. And that's my opinion.
Well, let me ask you this, Sin City.
Yeah.
So when I asked Matt Michaels that question, I said, hey, so is Jon Moxley the worst wrestler in the world? And Michaels responded, well, he's not good. Let me ask you that. Would you take it to the point of saying he's not good? Or would you say he's all right? He is good. Go
ahead. I didn't mean to step
No, it's all right. I was pretty much ending it. I was just pretty much wanting to sum up. So he's not saying he's the worst. He's just saying he's not good. What would be your take on that?
So ultimately, the thing that's telling is that he mentioned specifically that Dean Ambrose was good. Be it for his psychology, be it for his, technical ability when he worked for a different company.
Yeah.
So if one person has that capacity to perform like that and chooses not to perform like that, it's almost like as if he's playing to a certain set of skills, and that's not John Moxley's character, is to be a technical wizard or to be a psychological, just a cerebral kind of a wrestler.
Right.
I think that realistically, and this has been known for years, in professional wrestling, you play to someone's strengths. You attempt to hide their weaknesses. Now, I'm not using that phrase to say that Moxley's not good. What I am saying is that if you look at the people that are, brawlers in the business, he's up there near the top. Now, if he wanted to emphasize his technical prowess as part of this gimmick, then I'm sure that he would do that. And I'm sure that Tony Khan would ask for that. But
I think one of the things, though, we're losing is that we keep bringing up technical prowess. I don't think Cornette's necessarily full on in the technical aspect as much as the story of the match. And I'll tell you, as someone who's trained in the ring, Mox throws it away. He doesn't tell the story. It's just a brawl, because you just said it, brawl. And I think that I'll throw it right out there. If you look at the best brawler, one of the best brawlers in the history of the business, it was Steve Austin.
a
guy who was technically great in WCW.
Definitely.
But in the WWF, he had to be a brawler because he was shot. So you saw a lot of what he did was brawling style. The difference between him and Moxley is that Austin's not continuously cutting himself for no fucking reason, just to, to pop the crowd that there's blood, but he told the stories in matches.
Mm-hmm.
And I would gather that the problem is, and it's not all Moxley's fault, because what was the story? What was the reason for him wrestling Brody King, right? What was the story for wrestling? What I'm trying to say is it doesn't necessarily add up the guys he's facing. And there's no real, continuity to it other than we need someone for him to face this week. We're going to go on this guy and use maybe a little bit of a light background. Whereas when you had a Dean Ambrose, the story was in place and what was expected of him was in place. In AEW, they are very more loosely letting the guys kind of do what they want in the matches. So it's also hard to compare those apples and oranges because you have two different structures, so that it makes it difficult to say, well, if he was in WWE, he'd be doing this. Well, of course, because it's totally different there. Mm-hmm. And when you see the first, Cody is the first big name who went from AEW to WWE. And in the course of just that short period of time, you can see the difference between him as a performer in the WWE versus him as a performer in AEW. And it's night and day because of various different reasons. Will that translate for everyone? No. If Moxley went back to the WWE, would he be good? Yeah, because he knows the system, he can fit into it. But him and Punk are two guys who do not want to go back there because they are too into, dare I say, themselves and just what they want to do and fulfill.
Right.
And it's not about, going over there and making the big bucks, staying here and making the big bucks and kind of being able to call our own shots.
Right.
Right.
So,
and that's the thing. And keep in mind too, at the end of the day, realistically, we're judging this through one lens in particular. And Jim Cornette is looking through his lens. You had mentioned it as well, Michael's, being ring trained, that he throws everything to the side. Realistically speaking, a big bulk and a big chunk of your viewers haven't been ring trained, but they know what they see. They know what they see when John Moxley's on TV, and they like it. If you listen to the reaction that Moxley gets, they have him doing the things that get a reaction from the audience. And
well, here's the question though, Steve.
At the end of the day, that's the most important thing, is the reaction that you get from the audience.
But one of the big questions with Jon Moxley in particular, more than anyone else, is if he was never in the WWE, if people didn't know who the fuck he was, if he was just one of the guys like, a Darby Allin or someone, someone who was on the independent scene that came in, he wouldn't have had the built-in base. He has a base because he's been around for so long. So would the reaction be the same? He's a top guy because of the reputation he built in the other company. As for Jericho, as for Punk, as for Danielson, these are all guys who are on the biggest stage for wrestling. So that also factors into it too. He has the leeway because of the fact that he has the fan base built in. If he didn't have that fan base built in, if he was, fucking under a lucha mask or something, we wouldn't be talking about this. But Cornette knows that what he sees is something that, for him, talking about a wrestling thing, this is what he sees, and he feels that it's crap. And he feels it could be utilized better. That's fine. He also is getting ratings. We all know that. So that's part of his thing too, is to get listens. And you got to be controversial and pick the right guys. And if he picks, someone who isn't known in that company to an extended fucking base, then no one's caring about it. No one's talking about it.
All right. Let's move over to count number 3. And this one is titled WWE Rumor Roundup. Former women's champion allegedly set to leave the company. Details on Liv Morgan's live event incident with veteran huge return. So this was chosen by our very own Simon Street, who isn't with us tonight. So he can't really go in depth on what he was looking for here, but we'll just kind of
Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, we'll just kind of speak on to maybe where we think I guess what our take. But the first one, potential backstage details on Natalya not selling Liv Morgan's finisher. And if I didn't say it, this is from sportskeeda.com as well. So in this one, it says that it had in a recent WWE Saturday Night Main Event show that was held in Sacramento, July 9th, Natalya seemingly went off script during her match. Liv Morgan defended her SmackDown Women's Championship against the Queen of Hearts and Ronda Rousey during the show, and Morgan hit her finisher and pinned Natalya for the 3 count to end the bout. After the pinfall, the former women's champion rose and left the ring without selling the finisher. And Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer stated that there was reportedly an issue as Natalya was unhappy over something. However, it wasn't related to Morgan. He also noted that the situation was resolved immediately and there is no problem between the duo as of now. All right, so that's one of the rumors. The second one is there's a possibly update on Bayley's WWE return. And it says that the former WWE champion Bayley has been out of action for a year. She suffered a torn ACL and was expected to be sidelined for several months. It now appears that the role model has healed and is reportedly training at the Performance Center, raising speculation about a return. Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer has stated that she indeed will be returning soon. Bayley is not the only female star rumored to be returning to WWE, as NXT Zoe Stark is also reportedly set to return as well. And the last one, number 1, uncertainty over Io Shirai contract status with WWE. Says that former NXT champion Io Shirai may be leaving WWE soon. As previously reported that her current contract comes to an end in August. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer has said she is pretty gone from the company. The report also suggests that Shirai could be leaving to spend more time with their family. The Stars' former tag team partner Kairi Sane had also left the company for similar reasons. However, the former NXT champion responded to these rumors by saying, quote, rumors, end quote, and posted a puke emoji on Twitter. It'll be interesting to see whether the Japanese star stays with the promotion moving forward. All righty, guys. Anything here you want to comment on in terms of Io Shirai's contract, Bayley's returning soon, or Natalia just said, "Fuck it, I'm not going to sell Liv's finisher." What's your guys' take?
The thing that I found interesting was so in this article, they embedded a clip from WrestleMania, and yeah, you see it plain as day. Liv hits the Oblivion, covers Natty, gets the win, and immediately Natty just sits right up and yells at Liv, yells something. God only knows what it is before rolling out of the ring. So if whatever issue she had was not with Liv, pretty interesting there. I don't know. I mean, it is one thing to say that they're on good terms now, but there was definitely something going on that night. I don't know if yeah, it wasn't exactly a good look, especially with how much that blew up over social media. Natalia was even trending on social media after that happened because so many of the clips had leaked to Twitter. And as we just mentioned in the previous count, everyone has their opinion and they all want to voice them. So, right. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Matt Michaels, what you think?
Yeah, I think that Steve always says opinions are like assholes. Everyone shits out of them or something.
And some just stink worse than others.
You know, so I think first off, Io Shirai leaving, does it matter? You know, it's if she comes back, she's still under contract or whatever. She'll either, you know, finish off the NXT contract. Will we ever see her brought up? Is, you know, who knows? And if she wants to go back to Japan or go to AEW or Impact or something like that, then, you know, she's more than able to. Also, I guess one of the questions too is her work visa would be the other thing. So, you know, it can always be that maybe her contract's not up, or maybe her work visa is coming up and she'll end up having to go back to Japan just because she can't get that approved or something. So who the fuck knows about that? Yeah. Bayley coming back. I just miss Bayley. I just want to see her back. Yes. Period. Yeah. Very easy. And Liv and Natty. I mean, listen, yeah, it was a house show back in the day. You wouldn't hear about the shit except through the, you know, the whispers on the dirt sheets. Now you have fucking video of it. It happened. Blow-ups happened. You don't like everyone 100% of the fucking time. You have misunderstandings or conflicts or something happen. And then they go out and wrestle a good match on SmackDown. So, you know, yeah. Pretty, you know, I don't think there's anything controversial there at all. I also think, too, that Liv Morgan's in a really interesting spot in her career because she's a 10-year veteran, but she's only 28 years old. And Natty is a very experienced wrestler. She's a leader in the locker room. You know, she's had this in her blood since she was a fucking kid. And it could be easy for Liv to have done or said something that she misinterpreted during the match and just got pissed off and just said, well, fuck you. And I'm sure she went backstage and whoever was the agent probably didn't have too many words for Natty. It was probably, okay, you two talk this out right fucking now, and that's it. And Natty might even been the one who just got back there and was like, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I fucking blew up. I do apologize. Mm-hmm. I think the more controversy here is, Liv Morgan, get yourself in better shape. You can't be huffing and puffing during an interview after your match. What is going on? You're the champion.
It would not surprise me if we saw Bayley come out after the after one of the women's matches at SummerSlam. I'll just say that.
It wouldn't surprise me if Bayley came out and just, you know, beat Liv for the title within the next 2 months. You know, it's going to be interesting to see if they can make her, because Liv is a very interesting case. Like I said, my feeling is she's where Becky was for quite a few years, where she's got potential and she's good, but does she have the next level to be someone that you can sell merchandise with, that you can sell tickets to see? And she's in that in between right now, and we'll see. But Bayley coming back, that's another thing, is that if you have her come back and she's a heel, Bayley doesn't need the title and she can elevate Liv.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we can see if that happens.
There's really only one way to know how much they can get out of Liv, and that's just to put her in the situation that they already have and at least give her the opportunity. And if she falls flat on her face, then we know that, and she's not long for that company.
Well, she could still be, though, because look at Carmella. And Liv and Carmella have a fucking history.
Oh, yeah.
Liv, had her gimmick essentially stolen from her by Carmella. Yeah. And, you look at them being, Carmella's a little bit older, but they relatively started around the same time in NXT and kind of followed each other up the chain. And Carmella got the opportunity. She has the belt. She is established, so that if you put her in matches and she's losing the people, that elevates that person she's losing to. Liv could be in the same position. But if Liv finds the right thing, there's enough people that have saw that in her over the years that feel that she has something there. It's just finding what that character is, because I still can't tell you what she is. I can tell you what Becky is. I can tell you what Charlotte is. I can tell you what Ronda is. So
exactly. And I just have to put something out there too. Like, I am a fan of what Liv has shown. I agree with you as far as the cardio thing, but realistically, I mean, I see that, she's starting to vary her offense. I see that she's starting to do more things in the ring. So, I definitely can appreciate the things that she's added to her repertoire, but we'll see if she, if she moves merchandise, if they're able to, turn her into a profitable character for the business aspect of WWE. And if so, then she's made. If not, then she may have to be repackaged and things of that nature. So I just had to get that part out.
Yeah, she'll be an enhancement to like Carmella is. And the other thing is, how do you right now it's weird because you look at Liv and you go, you can easily market her towards little girls.
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
And they're already starting to do that. I mean, during her entrance with the camera cuts, they're always finding the younger girls in the audience to spotlight during her entrances. So yeah, that's spot on.
But is that going to serve her overall in finding the character? Because you might be pushing that, but Liv is a hot girl, and if you're selling towards what we talked about, the PG-14, now I'm going, well, is she a young role model, or is she the hot girl that you can sell to, guys like us who like to, watch wrestling with, our own personal wrestling tights on?
Shame.
Yeah, for DJ, his own personal wrestling tights involves the fuzzy white slippers.
Jesus. Oh my God. This is the good time to go ahead and not that one. There we go. The ref's like 1, 2, 3, 3. Yeah, anyway.
Sounds like an AEW ref.
Hey, don't talk about Paul Turner.
I was talking about Knox, who got knocked out in that fucking finish in the fucking that championship match, the tag match, man. That was great.
Man. Well, everyone, listen, thanks for hanging out with us for our 3 count. Appreciate you always. You can catch us every Sunday. That's when we do this recording. We start at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we start with our wrestling talk, and then after that, right around 8:50-ish p.m., we start right with 3 count. So if you can join us. We would love for you to be on, throw some of the comments in so we can get it on. And then that's it. So Thanks for hanging out, and we'll do it again. But let's do some final thoughts here. I'd like to start with Sin City Steve. What would you like to tell the good folks out there?
Definitely. Thank you guys for liking, sharing, subscribing, hanging out with us, doing all the stuff that you guys do. We genuinely appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you. Also, very special shout out to all the brave men and women serving this country, whether you're on lands foreign or domestic. Thank you for doing what you do so that we can do what we love to do. And last but not least, repsports.com, reppsports.com. Go there for all your pre-workout, weight loss, and general energy needs. Again, repsports.com. Use promo code Vegas at checkout and save yourself 15%.
That's right. And I'm a little late on that, but I can give you. There we go.
Boom.
See, boom. You know. All right. Matt Michaels, man, what do you want to say?
This Friday, 7 p.m. at the FSW Arena. It is high octane, new beginnings. Every single title is going to be on the line, including
Nice.
Jay Vidal versus Matt Vandegrift. Jay is defending the title. He just won back from Vandegrift, the No Limits title. You're going to see TBD defending the tag titles against Death Proof, the former tag champions. They haven't faced each other in terms of being for the belts. Death Proof was never beat per se by TBD, so it's going to be an interesting match there. You're going to see Bret the Fret finally get his chance to take on Cal Jack in a submissions match. Other people that will be on the show, Hammerstone defending the heavyweight championship. G Sharp, Greg Sharp going to be on the show defending the Nevada State title. You'll see the Faction on the card. Viva Van will be back, and should be a hot show. So either come down to the FSW Arena or go ahead and sign up for the FSW Network, $6.99 a month, and you can see all the programming FSW has done over the years and get the event for only $7.
Absolutely. And as always, if you haven't got a chance to listen to the DeFalco Files, make sure that you listen weekly. They're normally released anywhere between Wednesday through Friday, but they're great episodes as we get to talk to the co-founder of Future Stars of Wrestling.
No, the founder.
A founder, I'm sorry. Thank you.
The creator and owner of.
He was quick on his Sin City. I mean, I thought I was about to get my fire papers. Let me get it right. The founder, the creator. What's the next word? It's the next one. It's another one, right?
Yeah, the creator and owner.
Oh, that's it. Okay, I got
Creator
both.
And owner of FSW. As I say every single week that you've probably heard a million times in editing.
Impact, you're on the verge of getting future endeavored, bro.
I know, and I was about to tell the people, if you don't see me here next week, I really do enjoyed all of our times together. So,
you know what, and that is the FSE, the Future Stars of Endeavors, and we'll have you as the first one, DJ.
Thank you, I appreciate it. But nevertheless, make sure you download that so you can be able to hear all the great things that's going on with Future Stars of Wrestling. All right. So with that, we will see you all next week. And until then, happy wrestling, all of you. Later.